This episode is brought to you by Vitamin.sg. Vitamin.sg is owned and managed by St. Hall NutriHealth Private Limited, a leader in the health and wellness business since 1990.
Hi, welcome back everyone again to this ninth episode of Women's Self-Care series. We are so honored to have in our show today this special guest. Her love for organizing has helped her embrace her career in supply chain management. But as she is led by her path to motherhood, her priorities switched and led her to establish systems and routines so that she can run things efficiently. She runs her own business. It's called Get Organized and Beyond. Get tips on how to manage your time wisely and make your life a bit easier. Let's all welcome Nathalie. Hi, Nathalie. I hope you're doing well.
Yeah, thank you. I'm very well. Thank you, Janine, and thank you so much for having me today. I look forward to hear all the questions you might have.
Yes, of course. First and foremost, for our viewers to know who are you, can you tell more about yourself and how you've gotten into this business of decluttering and time management?
Right. So at a personal level, I'm originally from France, but I have been living in Singapore for more than 2 decades now. And I'm married and I have an 18-year-old son. I can't actually believe that he's already 18, but yeah, that's the reality. I have been a professional organizer now for more than 8 years, coming to 9. But my story with organizing actually starts way back, actually when I was a child. Yeah, the thing is, my mother was a very last minute person. So quite often around 8 p.m. she would wonder what to put on the table for dinner. And my dad, who had been, born during the Second World War, had a tendency to keep everything that would come his way, which over the years led to an overstuffed garage. So it was not so much inside the house itself, but the garage was really full to the brim. And I think I needed some structure. And I decided to take the matter in my own hands when I was around 10 or 11 years old. So I started helping my mom, organizing things in our home, tidying things. And I love it so much, I guess, that when I was invited to play at my friend's place, quite often I was actually helping their parents sort things into their house instead of playing with the child. So I must have loved it, really. Yeah. So then when it was time to pick up, an area for studies. I studied and graduated with a master in supply chain management, which involved a lot of planning and organizing. So I spent, I think, about 20 years managing and optimizing warehouses, space, processes, and systems, basically driving efficiency. And unconsciously, although I think it's my husband who was the first one to notice, I started bringing those concepts that I was using in the warehouse back into our home.
Oh.
Yeah.
Then your house is being very organized, right?
Yes, absolutely. It was definitely quite organized. But then I became a mother, and at that time I was traveling extensively for work. And I decided to set up some systems and routines so that things could run, efficiently while I was away. And I think it really made me appreciate at that point how being organized and how time management were really crucial in keeping a family happy. And I also realized that not everyone was equipped with those skills, because my friends were quite inspired by the way I was, managing our home, and started to ask for my help to restore order in their own homes. And Down the road, a few years down the road, I read an article about a lady in France
Mm-hmm.
who was helping others get organized.
Oh.
And I was very intrigued. So I called her up. We had a long chat. I did some further research and I find out that there were thousands of people out there, especially in the US and in Australia,
Mhm.
who were as passionate as I was about organizing and who were doing that for a living.
Ooh.
So it really got me thinking. And the more I thought about it, I really thought it was my calling.
Uh-huh.
But it took me a while to take the leap, I guess, probably 18 months to 2 years. But eventually, I find the courage
Mhm.
and I set up my own business. And this was really great because it was an opportunity to put my passion, my skills, my professional experience, my personal experience all together
Mhm.
to help others get organized and transform their lives. So for people who are not really familiar with professional organizer, what I do is that I work with individuals, women mainly, a lot of moms. I help them declutter, set up systems, embrace new habits so that they can create and maintain a clutter-free and organized home and most of all, make time for the important things in their lives.
Yes, which
Yeah.
as a mother, it would be, taking care of our babies and their family itself in general.
Yes, there is quite a lot of things, right, on the
Yes, yes.
on the list. Being a mother, being a spouse, being a
Mhm.
working
Yeah.
professional, being a daughter, being a friend. The list is very long
Exactly.
indeed.
And having this, I mean, everything organized would, help declutter the mind as well, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah,
Okay. With that, I would like to ask you, what does self-care mean to you? As
right. Yeah, well, for me, self-care is about taking care of myself
Mhm.
so that I can be physically and mentally strong
Mhm.
to support and take care of my family, to do my job, and to do everything I need or want to do while resisting the pressure of, all those challenges that life
Yes, yes.
inevitably, throws at us. So I think, especially as mother,
Mhm.
I don't think self-care is self-indulgence, but it's really critical
Mhm.
to keep us sane and functioning.
Yes.
So for me, my self-care routine revolves around very basic things,
Mhm.
not very creative here, but it's about sleep. Trying to get 8 hours of sleep a night. And at
Mhm.
my age now, it's sometimes a bit difficult to sleep. So, if I struggle to sleep at night, I might just have a short nap in the afternoon if I can afford
Yeah.
it. Um, it's about healthy eating and especially putting a home cooked meal on the table as much as I can.
Yes.
It's about exercising
Mhm.
or at least being outdoors and moving, just walking actually in the green for me, it's
Mhm.
really rejuvenating.
Yes.
And it could be also things such as, meditation, practicing mindfulness or gratitude, journaling, all these kind of things. And obviously, to make all of this happen, you need to plan the time in your schedule. Otherwise, it's not going to happen like this.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's my own vision of self-care. But I find that recently this quote, and I think I shared it with you or you commented on it,
Mhm.
that and I'm going to read it because I can't remember the exact word, but it says that true self-care is not salt bath or chocolate cake. It's making a choice to build a life you don't need to escape from. And that's resonate a lot with me because if you
Mhm.
think about it, when you are in a job that you don't like and you only think about the weekend or the next holiday, Or if you are in a home that's so cluttered and disorganized that you can't wait to escape to go back to work. And with COVID, we couldn't, right?
Yes.
Um, or, that's so disorganized that you cannot cook a meal at home and are going to have to go outside, to meet friends or family. Definitely, I think, it makes your life complicated.
Yeah.
So I think ultimately, for me, it's a self-care is about putting things into our life that are lifting us up,
Mm.
and on the other hand, getting rid of stuff that drag us down. And I think that's another subject we discussed in the past. But for me, social media, I realized during COVID,
Mm.
that was something actually that was dragging me down at that point. So many bad news, so many people arguing, sometimes not being very polite.
Yes.
It was just too much. And, I realized I needed to take this out of my life, or to reduce the exposure of it
Yes.
to keep my sanity. So, yeah, I think it's, yeah, how I really see self-care. And obviously it's very individual, right?
Mhm.
Um,
Exactly.
yeah.
Okay. Having that in mind, how was having the knowledge on how to manage your time wisely and being organized played a positive role in your life as part of your self care? I think somehow you tackled that with your answer earlier.
Yeah, but I mean, they are, I can probably give you a few areas, particular areas where it has helped me, and specific
Mm.
example. So I think the first one, where these skills came in was about finding balance. And
Mm.
balance is always, a bit difficult to achieve, especially if you look at it on a, just on a, for a day.
Yes.
You're going to be pulled out, in different direction, and sometimes spending more time, on work where you would like to be with the family, or the opposite. But
Mm.
if I look at the big picture, really, for me, it has helped me to find balance in the sense that I'm pretty clear about the areas of my life I want to balance. So it's about
Mm.
my family. And obviously, when my son was much younger, it was really about my son. And there was, the bit about my husband. Now it
Mm.
can be also specifically about my mom. It's about work. It's about self-care and all of this. So I'm pretty clear about all this area I'm trying to balance. And also, what are my goals in those different areas? Because being clear on your goals then give you a framework to decide what you're going to bring into your life and what you should let go of. So I gave, the example of, social media, but again, it's about deciding what's important, what's meaningful to you, what's going to help you achieve your goal. So and be, be feeling a bit more in balance, I guess. So that's definitely, an area for me that has helped me a lot. um, Another example is probably around routines. I
Uh,
have already believe in the value of routines, because for me, routines help you to separate the decision from the action. So
mm.
you know what you're going to be doing when, and as a result, you procrastinate less, you do things that are important, and quite often, because you do them repetitively, you
Mm.
become more efficient of doing them. And an example, related to self-care for me is meal planning. I was
Mm.
talking earlier about putting home cooked meal on the table.
Yes.
For me, that's definitely, a great and easy way to eat more healthily. Because if you start relying on, takeaway and delivery,
Yes.
then you're definitely going to eat food that are, more saturated in sugar and fat. And I'm not saying I never do that, I do, but most of the time, it's a home cooked meal. And so I plan my week every Saturday for the week ahead, and it allows me to have, you know, a balanced diet. And also making sure that every member of the family is gonna like the food and there won't be any arguments, you know, around dinner time about what's on the table, making sure that I have all the ingredients to cook, you know, the meal. So this, you know, in our home, and especially when my son was, you know, younger and needed to eat at specific time, I find that was, you know, relieving really a lot of pressure from our life. And maybe another example of you know, what's getting organized that taught me and helped me with my self-care, maybe around the stuff this time. um, I mean, I've been always very organized, you know, since I have been a child. But I must confess, there was a time in my life when I had more stuff than I have today, more stuff than really I needed. And uh, there was a time where my son was 2. I decided to quit the corporate world because, as I said, I was traveling too much, 70% of my time, and I was missing out on a lot of things. So I decided to establish a first business and to work from home. And I knew that if I wanted to be working efficiently, I needed to have a proper space at home. So the room where I was actually keeping all my clothes, my shoes, my handbags was the room I decided to set up my office, which means that I had to move all this into the main wardrobe in our master bedroom and share the wardrobe with my husband. So I had to let go of a lot of clothes at that point. And it went a bit gradually, but I did let go of a lot of things. And then I think it made me appreciate, you know, the power of having less stuff, because you have less to take care of. It created a better, you know, environment at home, both for my study and in our bedroom. I could get easily dressed because, you know, I had let go of those things that I didn't, you know, didn't need so much. So streamlining, you know, I find was really helpful to simplify my life. And I went throughout my whole home and did that in other area. And I think, yes, definitely, you know, the less you have, the less you have to take care of, and you can free again that time for other things that are important to you. Yeah.
It's amazing how, simple and most often forgotten this organizing and, decluttering, but then how impactful it can give our life, give it with all your examples. And I can see in even your mind is, quite organized itself. So it's very
Yeah.
inspiring.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. But you know, I quite often say that the physical clutter, what we really see, it's just actually the tip of the iceberg. And it's really when you start removing the stuff, or when it comes to time, you know, those activities that don't really bring value into your life, where, you know, it's really gonna bring up a lot of positive emotion. It's gonna, you know, remove a huge weight from your shoulder. And I think, you know, it's really at this level that you can really feel the benefits of having less. Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay. Okay, with that, could you give some tips on how we can simplify our time management system? Because most of your sharings were about, organizing and all. Now let's go to time management. Any tips on that?
Sure, yes. I mean, first of all, for me, I do think that it's important to have a kind of weekly routine schedule. I talked earlier about routine and developing a schedule where you're going to allocate a specific time for all the activities that you need to do or you want to do, and to give them a specific place in your schedule based on family commitment, for example, based on your energy level, so that all those things you want to achieve are there and have a dedicated place. Now, I know a lot of people tell me, oh, but you know, my life, it's impossible to put that much structure in my days or in my weeks. And actually, you can actually put more than you think. And also, this is not meant to be something rigid. This is again meant to be a framework. And when there is something that happens and you cannot really go according to plan, at least you know what you have to do on that day, and you can make decision about whether you really need to do it. I don't know, maybe if it's about vacuuming the house, do you really need, to do that on that day if you had planned that? Or could you delegate that to someone, to your husband or to one of your children? Or could you do it maybe just, tomorrow? Or do a quick one instead of spending, a very thorough cleaning of the apartment. So that gives you, a framework about deciding what to do and what not to do. So weekly schedule. In terms of managing this schedule, I always like to recommend to what I call planning your day the night before. So I know a lot of people like to do first thing in the morning, I'm going to decide what's going to be happening. And I find sometimes, especially when you have young children, if they haven't slept well, or if they have been sick and you have to take them to the doctor, then it's already too late to try to make a plan. So I think being able to step back, to do that the night before, to just spend 5 minutes to see, okay, what's lying ahead for tomorrow? Am I really going to be able to go through the day like I anticipate, or make some adjustments already, and being prepared for the next day? So it could be also, thinking about how you're going to get dressed the next day, depending on the activities that you have to handle. It could be preparing, exercise bag if you're going to go to exercise. This kind of thing that you can anticipate, so that in the morning, with the pressure of taking the kids to school or anything that could happen, you can have a bit smoother morning. My third tips in terms of time management would be to have a planner and a to-do list. I know a lot of people who rely on their memory for all they have to do, for all the appointments. But why really would you want to, take so much space in your memory to remember all of this? And for sure, there's going to be time where, you're going to forget things. So having a planner, a place where you can put all your appointments, your to-do, is going to be, I think, very helpful. And I have to say, it has to be one, because sometimes people tell me, oh, I'm going to have one for work and one for my personal life. But it doesn't work like this. If we have one life, and especially when we're trying to be in balance, right, we need to have a complete picture of everything. So it's important that you decide to have only one planner, one to-do list, and that's going to really help you, again, to make those decisions and those choices. And I think the last tip is for time management, and I think it's very important as women, is to learn to say no. I think, and I was like this before, and sometimes, it's ingrained in me, and I'm a people pleaser, and I would like to say yes to everything. But the reality is that time is finite. and we have to make decision about how we use them. So being clear on your goals, can help you again, as I said, to decide whether you should be doing something or not. But I often say, when you say yes to something, whether you realize it or not, you say no to something else. So try before you saying yes to really thinking about what you are saying yes to and what you're saying no to, and make the right decision for you. Yeah, I think that would be, some tips in terms of time management.
I'm glad to say that from your tips, most of them are a tick to me personally, except for the last one, which I am still on the way of learning, especially with the
Yeah,
kids where they are like always mommy, mommy, mommy every time. So because most of the time when I say yes to them, it means no to whatever I've planned to do, whatever I've you know specifically think that I would be supposed to be doing is all, all shoved over and
yeah.
okay, do this thing for the kids, which is sometimes not also correct. I mean, of course, our kids are special to us; they are very important to us, but we also need to gauge: is it really a need to do this and that? I mean, if it's playtime, okay, then of course, in our plan, we've planned already. This is our specific playtime with our kids. So by the
Mm,
time, on another time, this should be the thing that I should be doing. So I think
mm.
that one is uh, very important.
Yeah, I think, there's a lot to learn about setting boundaries,
Mm-hmm.
so that, yeah, you can achieve really what you want to achieve.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, saying no is definitely not easy. Doesn't really come naturally. But I think the more you do it, the more you practice, and the easier
Mm-hmm.
it becomes. And sometimes it's just, practicing in front of a mirror of just saying no. It's sometimes it just can be, starting as simply as that. And I also find sometimes when you're in situation of people tend to explain why I can't do it. And sometimes you don't need to justify, yourself. If you clear yourself, then it's no, sorry. I mean, that I don't mean to be rude, right? But,
Mm-hmm.
sorry, no, I can't today, but maybe another time, or let me get back to you when it's a better time for that. I think without, going into a lot of details, because the more you say, people are going to challenge you on the reason why you're saying no. And I think it's just a personal decision. And, so the shorter, the better.
Okay. Since we are in the people pleasing area right now. So this question is kind of related to that. We've been fed by society to think that a person's power should be shown by their buying power. How does this relate to the for the effects of the stress, these accumulated material things that a person gets?
Oops, sorry to interrupt you watching. I promised this would be a quick one. Have you joined the giveaway already? Be one of the 4 lucky winners of this amazing giveaway. Be one of the lucky winners of Stazen ProBio I. It is an innovative, broad spectrum synergistic formula made of 8 different strains combined with prebiotics designed for Asian customers. These 8 strains have been professionally selected for its ability to adapt in Asian climate known for high temperature and humidity. Stazen ProBio I is a product of St. Hall NutriHealth Private Limited. Now, let's go back to the show.
Yeah, there's a lot of correlation between actually clutter and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there was a study being done in Singapore, I think about 7 or 8 years, showing that 45% of Singaporeans are stressed because of the clutter in their home. So that's quite significant, right? And been working with people for almost 9 years now, and I've been looking at so many different situations that create stress. And first of all, the stress can come from the overwhelm of having too much. I mean, the stuff vie for our attention. The more we have, as I said, the more we need to take care of it. We need to find it a home in our home. We need to clean around it. We need to take care of it. This is time consuming, and we have already so many things to do. So taking care of this clutter, definitely is going to bring more stress. So there is this overwhelming, feeling leading to stress. Then there is quite often with clutter the feeling of embarrassment. The shame of having so much in our home that we're not going to invite people over. We're not going to entertain people in our home. We're not going to let our kids have a play date in our home because we're just too embarrassed about the stuff. Then there is also some guilt associated with the clutter. So guilt of having spent a lot of money, on something that we don't use. Maybe the guilt that we're not showing the right example for our children. Maybe the guilt of, we aspire to be a great cook and put meals on the table every day, and we have a pantry full of food, maybe that has expired, full of a kitchen full of kitchen appliances that we hardly use, and when we see all this, we feel guilty. Then there are probably things around resentment. Sometimes we are given stuff that we don't like, but we feel obligated to keep. And we feel, resentment towards the person that has given that to us. Or it could be, we have to take care of young children or aging parents, and we cannot do, our hobbies as much as we would like to. So, maybe we have many bikes, or we have all the golf clubs or all the tennis rackets, but right now we have no time for that. So all of these, remind us of the past, of why we cannot do that, and it can even create, resentment towards the children or your aging parents. Then there might be also, feelings of feeling lazy or incompetent when we have so many things on our to-do list and we cannot, go through them. So yeah, when you think about it, it's definitely a lot of, kind of negative feeling. That definitely will lead to some level of stress. And I think, at the end of the day, the solution is less. It's really surrounding yourself with things that you need, that you use, that you love, and that fits into your storage space. And, as you said, it's not really the stuff itself, but how this is going to make you feel, and all, how it's going to free you mentally and help you move forward. I think that's really, what's at stake.
Yeah. Whatever you said, all the things that you've said are really something that someone should be thinking of. It would, if they would be applying it to themselves, it would really make a difference. I think I myself would be thinking about our own things.
But sometimes we actually don't, realize the weight we're carrying because of our stuff. And if you take the example, of a wardrobe as a woman, so many ladies I work with would have clothes in their wardrobe that they don't fit in, maybe after having a baby, or because of the time, you put on some weight, your body change. And what you don't really realize is that when you open the wardrobe and when you see those clothes that don't fit, your mind is telling you, maybe I had some client who told me that actually, and so I'm using their word, but I'm fat, I'm hopeless, I will never lose the weight. So it's so many negative feeling, and when you let go of this stuff, and when you don't have to face those clothes, and you have only clothes in your wardrobe that fit, that make you feel happy, that you're comfortable wearing, it really creates a different mindset. But sometimes we don't really realize it, because we're telling ourselves, oh, I bought this, I have it's a lot of money, I'm gonna lose the weight, but in the meantime, it's still there taking space, and you don't fit in them. So yeah, it's really what at stake with letting go.
Very, I really love your answers, and I would try to apply it in myself and try to,
Okay.
yes, and I hope you wouldn't mind, because I usually do this inspirational posts in my Instagram, so I'm pretty sure I'll be using some of your words, which is very
Okay.
inspiring. That one for the wardrobe is very something that a lot of women should be hearing of, because the resentment and the negativity of opening your wardrobe and having all these thoughts could really, affect not only yourself, but then how you spend your day, the vibe of everything.
Absolutely. Yeah, completely. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's really about your self-esteem that can be at stake.
Yes.
And I've witnessed a few examples, working with clients, and how it has transformed their life. And coincidentally or not, I had a couple of clients who started losing weight. They had been desperate to lose after we decluttered their wardrobe. And I'm pretty sure there is a correlation between those two things.
So really, positivity makes a difference.
Oh, for sure. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, for our last question, as a professional organizer, could you share some tips for decluttering?
Right. Yes. Well, first of all, I think, it's stop agonizing about whether you should declutter or not, but just start doing it. I know a lot of people, just wait for the right time to have the right environment, but it never happens. And there is this quote from Courtney Carver, who is a minimalist, and I'm going to read it again. But she says, letting go was less terrifying once I got started. The scary part wasn't letting go, but always thinking about letting go. Action will quiet the fear. So if that's your case, I really think that you should start. You should start, even if you have 15 minutes every day to spend on decluttering, or maybe 2 hours over the weekend. But start and see how it goes, and you realize that it's not as difficult as you thought. Of course, and probably that's my second tips, you don't want to make it more difficult than what it could be. And a lot of people, when they talk about, oh, I need to declutter, but oh, I have all the schoolwork, all those things that was passed on to me by my mother who passed away. So they immediately think about the most difficult items they have in their home, to declutter. But I can tell you, before getting there are plenty of other areas that are probably simpler, not so difficult to make decision on to tackle. So I think the second tip is really about being strategic on where you start. So start, in areas that are not too much sentimental, with too much sentimental items, or not too much emotion. And the thing is, we all different, and we all have very different relationship to our stuff. For some people, maybe the clothes, that's probably the last thing they should declutter. For me, it was the books. I had a huge attachment to books, so that's the last thing I did in my decluttering journey. Maybe so for some people, it would be the paper. So look at, those things that are easier for you to start with, that are going to give you some quick wins and give you the motivation to keep going. And my third tips, I know a lot of people refer to Marie Kondo when it comes to decluttering. And Marie Kondo in particular, so this Japanese organizing consultant who wrote a book and had a couple of series on Netflix. And she advocates to declutter all at once, completely and intensely. And I mean, I see the value of that, because definitely if you were to tackle your wardrobe and take all your clothes out of the closet and put everything on the bed, it's going to be a big eye opener, and force you into decision. But I also realize that for me, clutter in most of the cases has accumulated over, it hasn't accumulated overnight, right? It has been years of accumulation. So when you have to, when you decide to declutter, if you want to do it all at one go, it could be a lot of stuff to face and a lot of decision to make. And after a while, you might be, reaching decision fatigue. And then there are two cases. What I can see is either people who are going to say that's enough and they stop halfway through, and it's even worse than when they started, or people who keep pushing and who might make decisions that they will regret in the future. And then the next time they have to declutter, because the reality is things are going to come back into our life, and when we're going to have, to declutter again. Next time they have to declutter, they're going to say, oh, they will remember that's a case where they let go of something that they thought they should have actually kept. They're not going to trust their decision again, and they're going to be paralyzed. So for me, there is, I see decluttering more as a journey, more as an iterative process. You start somewhere, you make decision. There is no benchmark about how much you should keep and what you should let go of. But for me, you should really let go of those things you're 150% confident of letting go. Sometimes I have some clients who feel, oh, but why are you holding me back? I'm just asking, are you sure you want to do that? Because the body language means, that they're not really ready to. And yeah, I want them to be 150% confident. I don't want them, once I'm gone, to go back to the pile of stuff they have decided to let go of and to start, pulling some items that they already regret to have let go of. Because when you do that, when you start letting go progressively, you start to see what you have in your home. So you're going to find it more easily. So you're going to save time. Maybe you're going to save money because you're not going to buy duplicative stuff you're going to already have in your home. And yeah, you're gonna really simplify your life. And when this happens, I see it all the time with my clients. They want to do it again. And by doing so, you really never know where it's gonna lead you. And I had a few clients who had very cluttered home, and it was not really, definitely not their goal when they started the process. But today they living as minimalist with a limited number of items in their home, and they're very happy. But they would never have thought when they started the process at what they will, how they would end it. So be strategic where you start, so that it's easier for you to make decision, and then be gentle with yourself, but keep going and learn from it. That would be my my decluttering tips for you.
Very nice tips. My personal takeaway for this is, realizing that organizing and decluttering is not as a one-time thing. It's like a habit. You should take it as a habit, where you eventually take it and make it your lifestyle. Like your client, what has happened to your client, wherein since she had a positive, um, experience with what happened, so gradually, without her knowing, she turned into a minimalist from over having so much stuff before. So it's really a journey, as what you've said.
It is a journey, and at the same time, it shouldn't be, something that you need to obsess about as well. Um, there is this other quote from Julie Morgenstern, who is an expert in time management, and she says, clutter is often the result of postponed decision. And it's true. That's quite often why we keep things in our home. So when you go through the process of decluttering and you learn to trust your decision, then every time that you're going to come across an item that has outlived its purpose, then it will become easier to right away make a decision on it and decide to let go of it. So right now I'm in a situation in my home when I never, plan a decluttering session. It's whenever there is, something that damaged, I'm gonna ask myself whether it's gonna be going into the bin or whether I can recycle it or whether, I could fix it. When there is something that I don't love anymore, if there is some clothes that I feel, oh, I don't feel great in them, I'm going to put them aside right away, so that all the time what I see in my wardrobe is things that I know I can be wearing. And I put aside all those things, broken, that I don't need anymore, that I don't love anymore. And I put that into my study room in a shelf. And when that shelf is full, I action it. So that's something that happened just naturally without having the need, every 3 months, every 6 months, every year, or whatever it is, to go through every cupboard again and declutter. Yeah.
That's a great.
Ultimately, I think, that should be the objective, to trust ourselves enough to make those decisions on the spot and not accumulate anymore.
Very great tips, Silvan. Okay, so since this is the end of our session, our interview, would you like to share some of your courses or programs in your company that you would like to invite our viewers to?
Well, I mean, first of all, thank you for this offer. I mean, those questions you asked me about, I write a lot about those topics. So I do actually have a blog. I write just one blog per month, but I cover topics such as, decluttering, kids organizing, home organizing, paper organizing, digital organization, and time management. So if anybody is interested, I invite you to have a look and maybe to subscribe to my mailing list so that you receive once a month those blogs directly into your email. We talked a fair bit around time management today. And I have a program actually that can be done online, and where I help people to build a weekly schedule, that help them to find a dedicated time slot for all the activities that are important to them. And so that they can feel in control of their schedule and feel happier and more productive. So yeah, I will probably share the links to that afterwards. Yes. But that's something that, if you were struggling with time and finding balance in your life, I would highly recommend. And of course, there is all the, the typical decluttering and organizing sessions that I do, one-on-one as well with my clients, so that there are quite a fair bit of option, you could be interested in.
I'm sure for the time management, most of the moms would love that. I mean, that's something that women don't really realize that they need in their life. Yeah, it's only when they have this organized time management, have this time management in their life, that they, you know, come to think of how could they have functioned before without this, and how helpful it has been with their life, and how their life has changed since having this time management. Okay, Natalie, I thank you for so much for your time. I'm sure lots of our viewers have learned a lot from this session. We will put the link of all those things that you've their programs below, and that's all. Thank you so much for your time again. Thank you for our viewers for joining us.
Right. Thank you very much for having me, Janine, and I hope all of you have learned something today. And if you have any questions, you can reach me through my website or phone. Thank you.
Thank you so much.